Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sean Yancey World, where we talk about the issues that matter most to you, what's going on in your world and what's going on in mine. We talk about the news headlines, the entertainment headlines, and certainly we've been talking lately the most about the 2020 presidential election. And tonight we are excited to talk about the historic victory of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And joining me now to talk a little bit more about this historic victory are two women who know our new vice president-elect very well because they attended Howard University with her. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Karen Up and also Carla Manning. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, how are you? First of all, let me say here's to you guys and all of the viewers out there who are watching us today, because I like as a girlfriend's chat. So we're sitting around and we're talking, and for full disclosure to everybody out there watching, we know that Kamala Harris is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. The three of us are also members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. But you two had the pleasure of being her line sister back in the 80s. So we'll get into more of that in just a moment. But just let me get your reaction first and foremost. Saturday, I mean, the election finally, we came to election day. Finally, they called the election on Saturday. We got to see her walk on the stage for the first time to give her acceptance speech. Karen, let me ask you first, what went through your brain when you saw her?
Well, I have to take you through the day. And actually, Carla, you remember the day before the news was, they were reporting that President-elect Biden would announce and address the crowd on Friday night. And there were a group of us who drove up to Wilmington to be a part of history. So it didn't really happen. So Saturday morning, they were still counting, and it caught me by surprise because I wasn't expecting them to have Pennsylvania called that morning. And we quickly rallied to see, okay, are we going back up to Delaware? And in fact, I'm one of three that was able to get there and witness it in the parking lot at Chase Center. And it was just amazing. It was really amazing in so many different ways, for Black and brown girls, for our Black community. And we were just very proud of her. And, she has had extraordinary professional milestones, but of course, this is the highest. And, we're just extremely proud, extremely proud.
Yeah. So for me, it was, and it still is, it is surreal. And it's more and more becoming a reality. But to see her on the stage, and Karen, I was in a different car from Karen. And so we actually had to watch it on television outside of the gates. But to watch her it was just the most amazing thing. And I would have never thought in my entire lifetime that I would see a person that I personally know being the vice president of the United States. So it was just awesome.
Yeah, and she came out on Mary J. Blige. I mean, Mary J. is one of my favorites.
Let me ask you about that, because when she came out immediately, I turned and I looked at my husband and I was like, that's Mary J. I mean, you guys were there. I mean, even if you were watching on television, Carla,
Yes.
Karen, were there.
Yeah.
I mean, what were you feeling in that moment?
Well, when she came out, the first couple of beats of the song, I was like, oh my God, that's Mary J. I'm high-fiving one of my other line sisters. And she just looked like she was made to do this. Mm-hmm. She came out walking like she was ready. Yes. And her speech was uplifting, uplifting. Mm-hmm. I felt like we will be in good hands with her and President Biden.
So let me ask you.
She looked fabulous in the white suit.
Oh yeah, it was gorgeous. It was
really gorgeous.
Let me ask you, how many of you guys went together, and how long had you been planning to make this trip? What was all that like? Because together there were 38 of you that were on that particular line. How many of you were together, went up to watch in person?
There were quite a few of us that went up Carla. I mean, it was 8 to 10. I can't remember, but as you would imagine, security was very heavy.
Yes.
We had credentials to get in, but it was they started shutting things down pretty quickly once they entered into the staged arena. So I was, blessed enough to get inside, but I could feel the spirit of all my line sisters there because, it's just such a proud moment.
It was indeed a proud moment. I'm going to play for you guys one of the moments that stuck out for me. And then on the other side, let's talk about, your reaction to this as well. Take a look.
Okay.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. But know that we will applaud you every step of the way.
I don't know about you guys, but that moment for me, when she was, let me talk to the children of our country, when she was like, let me talk to Black and brown girls, when she said, dream with ambition, lead with conviction, see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. I was so overwhelmed with a sense of pride. And as a journalist, it wasn't about whether you're a Democrat or whether you're a Republican, but I was filled with a sense of pride seeing a Black woman, the first person of South Asian descent to be elected as Vice President of the United States. My heart was overjoyed with pride. What were you guys feeling when you saw that?
The same thing. So as I was just watching the clip, it gave me goosebumps, and it gave me goosebumps that night. Because she's absolutely right. All little girls can now look to Kamala and they can say, I can do whatever I want to do, but I'll expand it. Even women my age or older that can also, it applies to us as well. So to me, it applies to all women, that we can achieve whatever we want to achieve. And if we're ever in doubt, all we have to do now is look at Kamala Harris, and then we have a role model and somebody that's done it, and we can say, I can do it too.
Karen?
Yeah, I think the key part that stood out to me was, in fact, just because you don't see yourself, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. And that stood out to me. What also stood out to me, and this might be, we find it a little funny, but she says, I might be the first, but I won't be the last. And she had that little, that little head, like, I won't be the last. And so she's paving the way, so she won't be the last.
Absolutely. And that's not the first time that she said it. I mean, she said, I may be the first, but I won't be the last. And I think that was also inspiring, not only for little girls, but just like you said, grown women who are watching right now, women who are just getting into politics. Wow. I mean, if we look back, let me say this, 12 years ago, nobody thought that we would see, or I shouldn't say no one thought, people were elated to see our first Black president. I remember my grandmother telling me she never thought in her lifetime that she would see that happen.
Right.
And here we are. Like, I have no words. So, what do you think? I have 3 sons, and only 2 of them live with me. But, when she gave her acceptance speech, when Joe Biden came in, we had them sit down in the room and watch. Not only because it was history, but also because she was a woman, and we wanted them to be a part of this history and take it all in. What do you think this means for young men as well in our country?
I think it means the same thing. Because just as, Black people and brown people, we all have had and continue to have our struggles and people telling us that we can't do. And, there's so many statistics that show that those microaggressions and naysayers start even in preschool. So now Kamala is a person that even all Black children, men and boys and girls can look to, and they can say, no, I am somebody and I can achieve, and I'm not going to listen to your negative comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you bring up, Carla, in terms of microaggressions. Kamala checks two boxes. She's a woman and she's a Black woman of Asian descent, South Asian descent. And we want to make sure that we're raising our Black men, our Black and brown boys, to understand that, women are just as capable, right? We want them to be really conscientious of that. And not grow up to be perpetrators of microaggressions from a woman's standpoint. So I think that's a great point.
You guys have a different relationship than the rest of us, the rest of the world has with Kamala Harris, because you guys went to college with her. You were also her line sister when she was initiated into Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Let me take you all the way back. And I know people have asked you guys this before. What was Kamala Harris back when she was at Howard University, when you guys were undergrads going to class every day?
Well, for me, to be honest with you, I didn't know Kamala, before we were going out for the sorority. Mm-hmm. At Howard, you may not have known this, but in the early 80s, I was in School of Business. Mm-hmm. And so the School of Business was not a part of the main campus. It was down on Sherman Avenue. So I spent a lot of time on Sherman Avenue and not with most of the population of Howard. And I was a commuter. So with that said, I didn't get an opportunity to meet Kamala until we were online. Mm-hmm. And what I remember most about Kamala is what America has seen in pictures and as she's spoken. She has this infectious smile and a hearty laugh. She's very fun-loving. But when it comes down to, as we are working towards being initiated into the sorority, we have service projects. We have lots of things that we have to do under tight timelines and challenges. And she's ready to roll up her sleeves and do the work. She is just a fun, loving, hardworking. And I knew then that she was a part of student government, as we got to know each other online, and debate team, I believe. I know she had, had stood up against apartheid when we were in school, but my bond with her was forged as part of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I didn't really know her prior to that. And as Carla would tell you, we have a very tight bond across all 38 of us. And we have supported her through the years. And she has supported us when she could, likewise, and reciprocated.
Carla, tell us a little bit about that. I mean, so for people who don't necessarily understand, historically Black sororities and fraternities, when you get involved, when you're in college, it doesn't end when you leave. It is something that lasts for life. It's a lifetime.
Exactly.
What do you remember of Soror Kamala when she was in college, and how has your bond grown over the years?
So Kamala, the person that we see today, is, and I'm echoing like what Karen was saying. So the person we see today is the person that was back at Howard. So she was a nice person, and she was pleasant, and she had that smile and laughter. But then she also had that side of her that, like she knew how to take care of business and to get things done. And I know I actually admire someone that has both of those qualities, because those are the kinds of people that you can relate to, and that you don't mind, if they come up with an idea, or they're like, well, let's do this, and they're organizing, then you're like, okay, I trust you, because one, you take me into consideration as well as whatever we're trying to do. And so that's the person that I see today. And then over the years, as Karen indicated, like we still get together. We get together at homecomings, and we get together. We have trips that we go on. And Kamala comes when she can. And so when she can come, it's still, it's like going back in college. So yeah, so she's the same person. It's just like I saw her yesterday, like I saw her in the 80s.
Let me ask you this. So Karen sort of alluded to it. You said she was involved in student government back when she was in college. When you guys found out, she was going to be running for the attorney general of the state of California, then when she decided she was going to run for president, and next Joe Biden chose her as his running mate, did any of that surprise you along the way, Karen?
Everything up to running for Senate definitely didn't surprise me. If I'm honest, I do feel like she was being groomed to go in that direction, but I didn't think it would happen that quickly. To be honest with you, but I've definitely felt like she was being groomed, and for every reason to be groomed, because she is, her motto was for the people, and her life's work, I think, is about service, and she chose our sorority because it's about service. And she chose the line of work that she's been in, being district attorney, and then attorney general, and now the Senate, and now vice president-elect. But it's always had the base of being for the people and from a place of service. And, it was interesting reading her book also, because it helped me realize that she is from a legacy of civil rights and service. So it really did make sense. But when she announced I thought she was going to do it, but I was sort of surprised. But I wasn't surprised that Biden picked her as his running mate, though.
Absolutely.
Not at all.
I'm just curious, when you found out that he was, well, first of all, he made it very clear that he was going to choose a woman. And clearly her name was one of the women at the top of that list. Carla, were you surprised when you found out that he chose her?
No, I wasn't surprised. I was happy that he chose her, because to me, they made the perfect team. And so I feel that he made the right decision, because I think together they're going to do a lot of great things. And then I just thought of something else. So in my industry, I am in community development. And so I have actually visited on Capitol Hill and visited her office to talk about the needs of the community and what people need. And throughout the years when she was a senator, that's when I was going up there on Capitol Hill. And her messaging, even for community development, affordable housing, racial, social justice, all of those things were in place as a senator as well as now. So again, I'm going to go back to your other question. I've just seen consistency, and just a wonderful person throughout.
Yeah. Did we lose Sean?
Oh no. So it says we're in the show. Everyone can see and hear us, Karen.
Okay.
So what can we talk about? I'm just
ask
really,
Sean how she feels.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I am very hopeful for the future now.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we need change, but the change will benefit all people, right?
Right.
You know, it's not, oh, sorry. You still there, Sean?
I'm here. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. We were just, saying that, we're very hopeful, and we feel like the change that we're hopeful about will benefit all people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because I'm curious, how big of a role do you feel like she played in actually helping Joe Biden and their team win this election?
I think she played a huge part. I don't know if these reports are right, but I do think it has some merit. As soon as he announced that she would be the running mate, he quadrupled his campaign donations, that day. With Kamala actually came, I mean, of course, her own merits, right? But what also came with that was the support of ladies like us as part of a sorority, of the Divine Nine, of the Black community, the Indian Asian community. She brought a lot of diverse support, and I think it was very important that he picked the right candidate to campaign with him.
Indeed. Carla, let me ask you, moving forward, it took us a couple of days. This was not the traditional presidential election that we're used to seeing, where we get that instant gratification, where typically the night of or early the next morning, we find out who the winner was. And to this day, as we both know, Donald Trump is still contesting the results of this election. From this particular election, we saw that Black women came out and voted in very strong numbers, like we historically do. Election, so we're just breaking down some of the numbers. In the previous election, I believe it was 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump. This time we saw 55%. In addition to having Joe Biden also win by historic numbers of the popular vote, Donald Trump, the second highest number ever of people to vote. What do you think that says about our country, and how do we move this forward instead of being in this place that we've been in for the last few years? Which one do you think that one? Carla?
So on both sides, people were very passionate about what they believed in. And so people came out to vote because they felt very strongly one way or the other. More people came out for Biden, and that's, why that, he and Kamala won. And then the other part is that, even though they both had very high historic numbers, it was like what, 60-40, 55-45 split. And so because people feel so strongly about their different points of views, there now needs to be a reconciliation and of the way we treat each other and the way we work together. Because, it's too polarized right now, and it has to come together. And so one of the things that I have heard them talk about is that that is something that they are working on. They will work on is to bring this country back together, because the old way was I may not have agreed, not I as Carla, but a person may not have agreed in your politics, but we still could be respectful of each other and coexist. And so, so when Karen was talking about hope earlier, that's a part of the hope of bringing our country back to being one country. And at least we can start working on whatever our differences are and issues in a very respectful manner.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely, Carla. I feel the same way, but it does pose a question in my mind. What is it that led them to vote for Donald Trump? And for all the things that when I say I mean just the general public that actually voted for Biden, I think it's because they needed change. They didn't, they don't want to see how our Black men are being treated. I hate to say racism, but it is a form of racism. And I would like to feel that the vote towards Trump was not in the direction of racism. You would hope that that's not what it is. So, what I wonder is what made them vote for Trump is really the question. And in the back of my mind, but now I'm hoping that we're moving forward in terms of, I know they're still counting votes, but it looks very clear that the Biden-Harris ticket is won. We have to be humble and work together.
Indeed, there is no other path to victory for Donald Trump right now. Let me bring the conversation back a little bit to our new vice president-elect. For some of the people out there watching or who may not know that AKA's Ski Week. And there's been a lot of talk about, I mean, we're in COVID right now, so certainly the inauguration and inaugural details have not yet been released, but we know they won't be the same as in years past because of COVID. And we know the Biden-Harris team has been very careful about what they're doing. But I don't know about you guys. I keep hearing everybody saying there's going to be ski week going on down on the National Mall, all across the front of the White House. Are you guys hearing the same thing?
I'm sure there will be.
Mask and all.
Right, mask and all. There you go. Let me ask you guys, have you, and I know so much has been going on, have you guys been able to, at this point, speak yet with Soror Kamala or when, or do you guys know when you guys will be able to get together? I know she's, got a lot going on, especially in this transition. Have you guys talked to her? When might you get together?
I have not talked to her. There might be one or two of our line sisters that may have had an opportunity. I'm not sure yet, but as you can imagine, it's been a whirlwind for a little over a week. So, but we do plan on having an opportunity sometime in the future, in the near future.
Hopefully in the very near future, right, Carla?
Absolutely.
As we get ready to close out tonight, can you guys think of anything that you think the general public watching right now should know, or what do you want them to know that they may not already know about the woman who is going to be the first woman, we should say, to be the vice president of the United States of America? What do you want them to know about your sister, your former college mate, and now the vice president-elect? Karen, I'll let you start.
I think we touched on this before, but definitely more than a decent person. She has a heart of gold, approachable, inclusive. And again, this is the most heartwarming thing about her is her smile and her laugh. If you look at every picture, that smile is really infectious. And if you hear her laugh, she has a pretty hearty laugh. And even though we don't see her often, I think the last time I saw Kamala, where we were face to face, was in last year. She was still on the presidential campaign, quite a few of us were on our girls trip, Line Sisters girls trip in New Orleans. And she came to New Orleans as part of her campaign. And that's the last time we saw her. But she makes sure that she gives us individual attention in terms of saying hello and how are you doing. So that just tells a lot about her. And we will be in good hands. Definitely will be in good hands.
Yeah. Yeah. So to add to what Karen is saying, she cares. And so the things that are important to us as a people, as women, those issues, she actually cares, as she is a fighter and she's going to fight for us. So combine that with the warm personality part that Karen talked about, and then add on the fact that she is a fighter that cares, is going to look out for our best interest for the next 4 years. I think you can't ask for a better combination, in my opinion.
Right.
Indeed.
So Sean, I want to share something. It's I can't take credit for it. My line sister, Karen Hayes, she's always good with nuggets that she shares with us and things that she wants us to think about. But what she shared was, this is a full circle moment. And so she went on to explain that Howard University was congressionally chartered in 1867 by the federal government. They are the only university that was federally chartered as a university. And now, 150 plus years later, our line sister will be the leader of the Senate, which is part of Congress, that is an alumna of Howard University. Full circle. 150 years plus, but full circle. And just think about that. And when she shared that, I thought about that when the announcement came, and it brought me to tears. It really did.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what I wanted to ask about, the importance and the role that HBCU in particular played in that.
Yeah. Well, I think the effect she has on HBCUs now, I mean, that's another full circle, right? Mm-hmm. I did, as you know, our sorority, one of our pillar programs is to support HBCUs. And as one of our program activities, we did it like an HBCU trivia night. Mm-hmm. And I was assisting in putting that together, and it did a lot of research. And it's more than half of our Black professionals. I'm talking lawyers, doctors, etc. It's something like 70 or 80% of our lawyers, doctors, and other high-level professionals come from HBCUs. That's pretty amazing. And so the full circle moment is our vice president-elect has come from an HBCU. And HBCU enrollment is rising. The percentage of its rise is really pretty significant. And so that warms my heart as well.
Mm-hmm.
Carla, you want to say that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love about HBCUs, and I got this from Howard, is that they, focus on our history, and we learn a lot about our history. I know at Howard, I learned more about the Black diaspora than I ever had learned ever in my entire life. And know your history is to know thyself. And so, you start there. And then from there, HBCUs also build up its students to be the kinds of students that can say, I can do whatever I want to do. It builds our, what's the word to use? It builds our fortitude, our self-esteem. It makes us where we can withstand a lot of things. And so, yeah, I love the fact that I went to a HBCU.
Same here.
I think we're going to see more and more young people attending HBCUs.
Yep, the rise in enrollment.
Attending HBCUs, absolutely. Sorors, let me just say thank you both so much for joining us tonight, for Sean Yancey World, for talking about this historic moment for our new Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris. And I hope you guys will have fun at the heading to the Vice President's mansion and the White House in the months, years ahead. And let me ask you real quick before I let you guys go. So I know the first step, Vice President. Do you see her running for president again in the future?
Yes.
That's a no-brainer. I mean, she already campaigned to be president. So,
Absolutely. Let me just say, you both look beautiful in your pearls tonight.
Thank you. You look beautiful too.
And yes, you do. And cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Thank you,
Cheers
guys.
to Kamala.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
And thank you, guys. Cheers to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you tonight for joining us for Sean Yancey World. Good night, everybody.